What's up everyone? Alex here. The 2023 Backlog Battle Awards begins in earnest starting with this video, and we're kicking things off by talking about the best RPGs of 2023. I want to be clear that this is different from the top 10 games of 2023 video that you all nominated and voted games for. That's coming very soon. But we all know that 2023 has been an incredible year for the larger RPG genre as a whole, and I've picked 10 RPGs that are sure to highlight how diverse the genre has gotten over the years. That said, I want to see what your lists look like, so post yours in the comments below and let's talk about it. And now, here are 10 of the best RPGs of 2023. The very first game on this list is none other than the recently released Persona 5 Tactica, which also happens to be sponsoring this video. And the folks at Atlus wanted me to remind you that the game is out right now on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch. I'll be honest, I was initially put off by the game's character designs, as it reminded me a lot of how the characters looked in the Persona Q games. But when I started playing Persona 5 Tactica, I and many others like me were completely surprised with how it faithfully blended elements of Persona 5 and Royal with great tactical turn-based combat that makes it uniquely its own. That's because much like Persona 5, Royal, and Strikers before it, Persona 5 Tactica makes some smart design decisions that recognizes and revels in the genre that it's in. And because of its adopted art style and the way the battlefield and its myriad of characters are rendered, its developers created a look that blends everything so beautifully together that it actually complements the action on screen, allowing for the series' unique visual style to flourish and envelop us in a feast for the senses. And that's not even talking about the story, which is also one of the game's highlights. I am pleasantly surprised by Persona 5 Tactica, and it's easily one of the best games of 2023 because of the kinds of fresh things it does to make its tactical turn-based combat really exciting, making yet another must-play entry in the pantheon of Persona 5 games. Final Fantasy XVI fulfilled our dreams of playing an incredible hack and slasher that just happens to use the Final Fantasy motif as a backdrop to what is essentially one of the most fun and streamlined gameplay systems developed for an action game. And with the release of the latest DLC featuring a mega weapon, that boss and the other enemies in that new tower added yet another fun way to test and see if our skills are still up to par. What Yoshi P and team delivered is a fantastic action-packed journey that is emotional, vengeful, and filled with world building and storytelling. And that's not even talking about the fact that its icon fights are massive, epic, and bombastic. I've literally spent hours just playing the game in arcade mode, trying to whip out lengthy, devastating combos and leaving destruction in my wake, all the while trying not to get hit and getting the best score. Maybe that's just my inner Ifrit talking, but there will always be a burning desire inside of me that'll make me want to go back and play Final Fantasy XVI from time to time. And I'm happy to see so many of you in the community saying the same thing. We've seen remakes and remasters a ton lately, but none were as surprising and as engaging as the release of Star Ocean: The Second Story R. This ambitious remake abandons the pre-rendered CG found in the original game for a fully 3D environment that breathes new life into the game's plentiful locations, while still utilizing the same 2D sprites found in the original game. And while it bears a passing resemblance to Team Asano's HD 2D endeavors, what separates the Second Story R's look is how its camera pans and zooms while exploring its towns, and how it can befuddle players by twisting and turning the camera around in dungeons. Best of all, it's got some of the best action RPG gameplay in Star Ocean history, and it's only enhanced by the plethora of new features added to the game that make playing through it a much more engaging experience than the original. The sheer execution and quality of Star Ocean: The Second Story R absolutely raises the bar for JRPG remakes of its ilk, and you owe it to yourself to experience this classic in this way. Cyberpunk 2077 sure had a rocky start a few years ago, didn't it? So when CD Projekt Red said that they were going to continue working on it to polish it to a mirror sheen, thus ironing out the bugs, I knew that it was going to take some time. But years of hard work paid off, and just in time for the release of Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. However, we can't simply just talk about Phantom Liberty without addressing the accompanying version 2.0 patch that practically changes how the base game plays in massive ways. This patch overhauls many of the game's core gameplay systems, enhancing the AI and improving the visual fidelity of the overall game. To say that the base game has changed forever is an understatement. And when you roll into Phantom Liberty, you're also getting a quality expansion that sets a bold new standard for what to expect in expansions moving forward. The best way to describe Sea of Stars is that it's a 16-bit JRPG purist's RPG. What that means is that it's one of those games that attempts to evoke the era that it's inspired by, and stays and revels in that time period. Such is the charm and elegance of Sea of Stars' design, daringly ignoring some of the more modern designs of its contemporaries while staying true to its core until the end. What we got is an RPG that actually has some interesting environments to traverse through, as well as a combat system that is practically a mix of both Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG, which is funny given how we also got a remake of the latter this year. Every pixel and every moment of Sea of Stars feels lovingly crafted by fans of the classics, and it is absolutely deserving to be on this list of best RPGs of 2023. 2023 also marks the year that we got a brand new Bethesda game, and that came in the form of Starfield, a brand new IP that takes RPG fans to distant worlds. Starfield's bold move to venture into outer space marks an ambitious departure from the familiar Elder Scrolls and Fallout franchises that we've seen them visit over and over, employing their unique talents with crafting huge and believable places to the many planets that you'll be visiting. And yes, while this also means that not every planet you'll visit will have some interesting landmarks or things to see, when you do find something of value while you're exploring, it feels even more special. Some have described Starfield as blending elements of Bethesda games, No Man's Sky, and Mass Effect. But to the larger RPG community as a whole, Starfield is an experience unlike any other, making it the best open-world science fiction RPG released this year. I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed for a few weeks now, after many of you insisted that I actually get around to it, and I have to say that the hype was well worth it. One thing that I really love about the Xenoblade Chronicles DLCs is that it gives a ton of context to the events happening in the main games, and going so far as connecting every single game in this series together. And Future Redeemed makes it blatantly obvious with the appearance of both protagonists from Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. Future Redeemed is set before the events of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, giving context to the events leading up to the beginning of said game, while also culminating in a send-off that is sure to delight fans who have been loyal to the series since its first outing on the Wii. I intend on reviewing this DLC, which is something I personally don't like doing, so this says a lot to the kinds of content that this thing delivers. I'm not quite done yet, but I can honestly say that this one game is a whole RPG's worth of story and gameplay that has blown me away the more I play it. So yes, dear friends, I finally get the hype. There's already a wonderful 48-minute treatise on Lies of P made by Joseph Anderson that's gotta be one of my favorites on it. But this doesn't stop me from acknowledging the sheer fact that this game is one of the more successful Bloodborne-inspired Souls games out there. And to think that all of this was inspired by Pinocchio's story. I've made no secret of the fact that I am generally horrible when it comes to Souls and Souls-likes, but there's something about Lies of P's atmosphere and story that just hooks me deeply, and makes me want to push further beyond my limits. And yes, some might say that it's quite derivative of Souls games, but unlike the many others that do, Lies of P understands what it's copying and tweaks its gameplay ever so slightly to fit its own motif and theme, that it just plain works. There's naturally going to be differences in timing that might frustrate veterans of Souls games, but Lies of P is the Souls-like that comes to mind whenever I think about the very best RPGs of the year. Released earlier this year, it's very easy for people to forget that Octopath Traveler 2 came out in 2023 because of how incredible this year has been. Octopath Traveler 2 doubled down on improving many of the things that its predecessor didn't do quite well. A faster battle speed option? Check. More ways to have your party members interact with each other? Check. And there's even quests that pair two of them together in a multi-part story. Deep lore that ties everything to the real villains of the game that you encounter in the post-game? Check and check. Octopath Traveler 2 reminded me a lot of the first time I played Final Fantasy VI because of its sheer ambition and the way that its pixel aesthetic immerses you into its world. It is a breathtaking and highly captivating JRPG that toes the line between nostalgia and modernism, blending the best of both worlds in incredible and truly unique ways. And with an incredible soundtrack, fantastic voice acting, and stories that you'll absolutely love, Octopath Traveler 2 is easily one of the best games of 2023, and an easy recommendation for any RPG fan who's looking for great characters to journey with, along with an unbelievably explorable world that you'll want to spend tons of hours in. I will never beat Baldur's Gate 3. I'm not trying to be defeatist here. I just really like the game so much that I want to see the results of every single permutation of my choices that I barely even scratched the surface of Act 1. While many proclaim Baldur's Gate 3 as one of the best representations of tabletop RPGs in a video game to date, and to be fair, they're not wrong, to me, one of the best things that Baldur's Gate 3 did was to cleverly combine the plethora of verbs available to players in a typical classic point-and-click adventure game, and mixing that with a depth of gameplay that RPGs have. And as you might expect, these combinations of actions creates a seemingly infinite set of options that not only allow for a kind of self-expression that hasn't been seen in a video game RPG ever, but also challenges our creativity and imagination in ways that no other game has. And these player stories, the experiences that are unique to our own gameplay experience, is what sets Baldur's Gate 3 apart from the other RPGs on this list, easily making it one of the year's best RPGs. And that's just 10 of the best RPGs of 2023. But there's so much more we can talk about. If you're gonna curate the best RPGs of 2023 and making sure that they all offer different experiences, which ones would go in your list? Post your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about it. Chloe wants to encourage you to become a Phantom Thief on the Backlog Battle Patreon. The join for free button on my page doesn't really give you anything, but if you become a Phantom Thief and subscribe for $5 a month, you'll gain early access to reviews, list videos, and more. You even get to see cool new things I'm trying out, new styles of videos that aren't even on the channel, as well as full scripts of videos that you can read and try to sound like me. And by subscribing, you'll even get your name listed at the end of every video, and gain access to a secret Patreon channel on our Discord. So head on over to patreon.com/backlogbattle, subscribe at the $5 tier, and keep our dream alive. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.